But if you can sit down and just take stock of what it is you're doing. Am I doing the job I want to do? Yes. Am I getting paid? Yes. Is it the what I want to do at the moment? No. But what's the alternative? Oh, in my case, straight away, and I'm very proud of all my family and my father and my grandfather and we're all master bricklayers and stonemasons. But I never wanted to lay a brick in my life because that's what I was down for. And anytime I just go, "Mm, not stood in, not stood in the rain laying bricks." And I can be miserable and I think few people might have had me talk to them and go off and get it off my chest. But within, I would say, less than half an hour at the most, I'm probably starting that thing. If nothing else, there's something kicking into my head that's saying, "You chose this life. You know what the pitfalls are. You know what it was about. Get a grip." Right? Yeah. It's all been good.
Absolutely. I have those moments too, and I just think to myself, I taught a kid how to play Led Zeppelin a day. My life is not too
Right.
bad.
Right. Right.
And with you
Oh,
and
can I
this,
just give you a
sure,
little oh, this would be
sure,
interesting for
sure.
you. So my wife went to the same, middle school. She moved to Blackpool when she was 13, but she used to go to the same school in Kidderminster, which is in the Midlands of England, that John Bonham and Robert Plant went to.
Wow, that is insane.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I spend my days teaching John Bonham drum licks. Like,
right.
that's, I mean, that's amazing. That is, and they were only, not to
Wait a
sidetrack too
little.
soft,
I'm just giving these things because
but you're
why am
talking
I
middle
going to tell them?
school. In
This is
middle
middle
school,
school.
it was literally only 7 years later where they started Zeppelin. Like, that's
Right.
insane,
Okay.
Yeah.
So what just as a drumming thing, right? It's little things that, and who else is going to tell you this? Very famous British wrestler called Kendo Nagasaki, not the Japanese gentleman that was in America as Kendo Nagasaki. This is British Kendo Nagasaki, who played a Japanese character and was very successful at it. He had an original manager, George Gillette. George unfortunately passed away. Then he had his second manager was a man called Lloyd Ryan. I know Lloyd, who's gone on with him. He was a drum teacher. He taught Phil Collins how to drum.
Wow.
So there's another little useless
Wow.
bit of information for you. You never know what you're going to learn on this show.
Who actually played with Led Zeppelin at the Live Aid concert in
Right,
1984. And
right.
also, and I hope he's doing okay. I saw a video of Phil Collins recently, and he looks like he's struggling health wise these days. But
Mm.
man, what a pivotal figure in British and American music history for
This
sure.
isn't the time then because he's not doing well, but I have a great Phil Collins story.
We will do it, and hopefully he comes back
Yes,
and
I
comes
hope
back
it kicks
strong.
out because if
Yeah.
not, I don't want to say that because it is it is a sticking point with me, and I have the photos to prove it.
He
Yes.
he also did a couple tours with Clapton on drums, even of course the Genesis stuff, and
Okay.
an amazing musician. Where this is going to be a shorter episode of Gentleman Villain, but I want to talk about a couple other things with Tajiri. You talked about the breakup, and you talked about the kind of influence the influence it had. Tori Wilson
Yeah.
being kind of a geisha,
Yeah.
and y- it
Tori was what a lovely lady she
she
was. Absolutely
one
lovely.
of the
Yeah.
greatest of all time, really, at what
Lovely.
she did.
Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier you thought maybe they cut it off a little too short. Maybe it could have
Um,
gone a little longer.
well, I did at the time, but then it played back in perfectly. I've always I've been very fortunate. Mr. McMahon was right on the button, and there's a lot of times, and Paul Heyman was right on the button. Always leave something before it overstays its welcome. And they knew better than I did at the time to get out of something. Because if you leave it on a high, you can always go back to it and it will be special again. You can always go back to it, but if you've let it peter out, it might not have the same effect. And they were smart enough to pull me out of, like, the first time I was the commissioner, they pulled me out of that to do a program with Edge. When I first heard it, I'm like, oh, well, that's a bit odd. But then as soon as it was explained to me within a split second, yep, I get it. And then look how many times I got to revisit some form of that character. Paul pulled me out of the thing with Tajiri, which was going great, but then we got to go back and do more with it and
Right.
do something different with it. And actually, that, not that that means anything to me, but it was would be a big thing for Tajiri to win the the. And when I mean, it was a big honor that I was trusted with that, but I was happier for him that we got to win the WWE Tag Team Championships in Japan. That was an unbelievable night,
It,
an incredible night.
it's
Really.
interesting. The idea. I don't think there's a more universal show business concept that's true than leave them wanting more. You know
Yes,
what you're saying,
like
and
Elvis
what you're
never did
saying,
any encores, right?
right? You know,
Right.
don't do encores if you
Elvis
don't
just
have it
left the
prepared,
building.
right?
Right.
Leave, leave people wanting more. And what you're saying is that that creates an opportunity perhaps to go back and revisit it.
Yep.
And they have the opportunity. You got like, a Japanese tour, you're in Japan, and you have an opportunity to reunite. Of
Yep.
course, in the meantime, Tajiri did some stuff with Eddie Guerrero replacing Chavo and were the tag
Fantastic.
champions.
They were
That was good
fantastic
stuff, man. That
together.
was good
Great
stuff, right?
stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, the brilliant. I can't talk enough highly about Eddie, how great he was once he figured out that entertaining part of it, which he'd always had a bit, but once he really, there was nobody ever better than Eddie all round at everything. And when I, and there's people have different ideas of that. I'm looking at it from a world travel pro who can go to any country and not talk to anybody and and be able to wrestle anybody in any style, and then come to America and see, that's a different thing of completely. Nowadays, without being able to go and even see your opponents sometimes, and just to go out and not talk about stuff, and excuse me, and not talk about stuff, and just be able to do your job.
yeah.
Oh, the brilliant. I can't talk enough highly about Eddie, how great he was once he figured out that entertaining part of it, which he'd always had a bit, but once he really, there was nobody ever better than Eddie all round at everything. And when I, and there's people have different ideas of that. I'm looking at it from a world travel pro who can go to any country and not talk to anybody and and be able to wrestle anybody in any style, and then come to America and see, that's a different thing of completely. Nowadays, without being able to go and even see your opponents sometimes, and just to go out and not talk about stuff, and excuse me, and not talk about stuff, and just be able to do your job.